Okay. Greg, can you hear me? Okay. Okay, so looks like we're back on here. So I'm just gonna let everybody know. Give me just a second here. Thanks for your patience, everybody. Oh, looks like All right. Let's give everyone a chance to get back online. Thank you so much, first of all, for your patience. You know, it's a first time for doing this virtual town hall thing for me. So please just bear with me. Let's give it just maybe a couple more minutes. Okay. Hi, everybody. I see everybody coming back on. Thank you so much for your patience. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Once again, I just want to thank everyone for their patience. And uh, this is, like I said, first time for me to have to, go virtual instead of being in person. I certainly would have loved to be in Hammond today at the North Township Trustee Office, which was where um, this town hall was supposed to take place, right? And so the pandemic hit, and that was it. So this campaign is going to send a message of safety and precaution. So uh, perhaps we will eventually get on site, but until we feel that it's safe, we're going to go ahead and just continue via, virtual. So I am live streaming now on Instagram, Twitter, Periscope, YouTube, Facebook, everywhere. So there are people tuning in on multiple platforms, their preferred platform, and I thank you for that. I will not be before you long. Just wanted to kind of introduce myself and let everybody know a little brief background. I also have Eve Gomez and Greg with me, and they are also assisting me with taking questions and things like that that may come up in the comments uh, or something like that. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that if while I'm talking, you do have a question or a comment or something that you'd like me to address, then I certainly will do that to the best of my ability. Okay. Okay. So thanks for tuning in. I'm Haneefah Khaaliq, and I am running for United States Senate in 2022. And I'm starting my campaign right now. I actually started it in 2019 because I know that I need that time to acquire interest and to get to know people and stuff like that. So I have started my campaign, and some are saying you're too early, but I don't think so. Not in campaign time. So without any further ado, I just want to let you know also that for the next several Saturdays, I would say, with an exception for July 4th, from June 6th to August 28th, and probably even into September, I will be going live every Saturday. And I will be introducing myself, talking about topics that are, maybe hot in the news, or, some of the things that are going on in the world. So as we move forward, like I said, we will be here each Saturday. I also want to let my Spanish speaking audience, my Latinx community, know that we do have a Spanish translator and interpreting conference line available. So I am going to go ahead and post in the comment section here that phone number if that is something that you need. So give me just a second here. Bear with me. So thanks, Eve, for being on the line and being a part of this as well. I hope I posted that correctly. Spanish conference line, Spanish speaking conference line translation available at that number along with the access code. Okay, so once again, I am Haneefah Khaaliq, and I'm running for United States Senate right here in Indiana. And I'm starting my campaign right now because that's what I need to do in order to win. I've also opened up my Act Blue account, so you're welcome to donate to Hoosiers for Haneefah, and I thank you for every single contribution. So there are many places that you could be, but you're here with me, and I appreciate that. There's a lot going on in the world, right? We have COVID. You have the protests going on for George Floyd. And going back to the pandemic, this has been exhausting for all of us. There's been loss of lives, loss of jobs, loss of norms. And then on top of that, we're dealing with the social unrest in this country. But one thing is we cannot, allow ourselves to do, and that is to not is to not not to fail to be responsible for each other and for ourselves, okay? And to still act as citizens, active in whatever's going on. So if it's registering to vote or filling out the census, these are important things that we have to remember to keep in mind, as we move forward. So, and then the second thing we have to do is we have to communicate. We have to continue to communicate. If we can't pay a bill, then we communicate with our bill collectors. If we need to tap into the CARES Act relief, then we do that also. If we need to file for unemployment or whatever it is that we need, we have to create our own level of comfortability. Okay, so and hopefully with regard to the CARES Act, there will be more assistance forthcoming. So let's continue to make time for each other and be responsible. And like I said, register to vote. We just got done with the primary election. You've got the general election coming up, and take this time to do what you need and fill out that census. Though that money is earmarked for us and what we need in our community. So please make sure you do that. Once again, I'm Haneefah Khaaliq. I'm running for United States Senate, and I'm starting my campaign right now. My name of my committee is Hoosiers for Haneefah. So I hope you are a Hoosier for Haneefah and you're tuning in. So I'm from Chicago. My parents originally moved to the suburbs of Illinois. My stepfather was a steel mill worker. And when my mom divorced and remarried, we moved to the Illinois suburbs of Illinois, and then we also moved to Indiana. Um, my family is poverty. I would say, there's some poverty there, but we're also middle class people, middle class working people. I come from a low economic status of struggle and survival in Chicago to Indiana as well. I graduated from Lake Central High School, went to IUPUI. I was the president of the student Christian organization there, and I was also a youth minister for a little while. I did a lot of volunteering at IUPUI, and it put me on the path to a volunteerism that gave me experience working in the public sector and in public service. And that's what I feel is needed more than ever, right? We need candidates who have that public service and have that volunteerism under their belt. They understand what it's like to work with single mothers or with ex-felons, people trying to get back into the workforce, troubled teens, and all of the volunteerism that I did helped with that. I've even volunteered in animal shelters and with the elderly and in the senior communities. I know what type of struggles that they're having. So in 2017, I graduated from Valpo Law, and my volunteerism didn't stop there. I worked very closely with Sojourner Truth House, which is in Gary, Indiana, and they gave me the opportunity to work with women and children in need who needed legal assistance. These are the types of people that we want in public service and public office because they know how to do stuff and not be paid for it. And we want politicians and people in office who aren't concerned with money anymore. We have to come away from that. Not to say that it's not important, it is, we know that, but we have a charge and a responsibility to the people first. So now I have the pleasure as the Civil Rights Director for the City of Gary, fighting for people's rights every day, and it is just an awesome job. I feel like every morning I wake up, I get to save the day or try to help save the day for somebody who feels like they've been discriminated against, okay? Or maybe like their rights, like I said, have been violated, okay? So you'll find that I'm a well-rounded individual and one who understands the people. And most of all, I understand the struggle that people have because some of those struggles I've had myself, okay? So all of the experiences that I have had in life have brought me to where I am today. And I believe that I have the skills, the know-how, the education, and the experience to lead. Once again, I just want to let everyone know who may be tuning in. I am Haneefah Khaaliq. I'm running for United States Senate right here in Indiana in 2022. And I'm starting my campaign right now because that's what's necessary in order for me to win, okay? My committee is Hoosiers for Haneefah, and I certainly hope that you are a Hoosier for Haneefah and that you will make a contribution to my campaign. So why the office of United States Senator? I've been asked that question a lot, especially having been a person who's never run for office. I think when I was in law school, I ran to be one of the class presidents. But for me, I feel like, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, how average individuals like you and me are what the founding fathers intended to run for office and to be in office. So I hope that this also encourages, the virtual series will also encourage people to tap into that. So the office of United States Senator, why that? Well, it holds no more significance than any other office. Our founding fathers set up the requirements for these positions a long time ago. And I don't know that they had someone like me in mind, but nevertheless, the requirements are there, and they're actually quite simple because they wanted outsiders like you and me, right, to be able to have access to running for Congress, because they knew that average individuals understood the necessity of having daily experiences, daily struggles, daily issues. Doctors, lawyers, teachers, these were the types of people who ran for office. They weren't, so wealthy or big millionaires or trying to, uh, uh, they were with the people every day. I don't know how else I can describe that, but I think more people need to be running like me because we're not out of touch. We're not career, what you would call career politicians. We're every day, we're working among the people, we're doing things among the people. So what's sad is we continue to actually elect people who have, in my opinion, absolutely no connection to us, no volunteerism, no record of public service. And another mistake is choosing people outside of our socioeconomic status, because studies say we tend to gravitate towards people who have the same economic status as us. So we keep electing people who are not only outside of our socioeconomic status, but they're millionaires whose friends are billionaires. And there's nothing wrong with money, but for them, everything is okay. And for us, everything is not okay. Everything's not okay. We are struggling right now with no livable wages. We don't have health care. We still don't have health care. And we are still operating in a system where there is no justice. There is no justice. What I'm seeing right now in the news is disappointing, because our legislators are supposed to be trying to work hard at creating policies that create equality and equity amongst people. All you hear them saying is, we're going to work on that. We're going to work on that. Well, how long does it take for you to work on that? And how many more lives have to be lost while you work on that? Okay. So the point that I'm trying to make is, we have United States senators right now in Indiana who don't think Americans need any more money directly issued to them as a result of this pandemic. When 40 million Americans are in need, 1 in 5 Hoosiers right now is without a job. So instead of taking a wait and see approach, we need we need policies, and we need help right now. Right now. And I am going to be that type of candidate. That is the type of candidate I'm going to be, and that's the type of candidate I promise to be. A right now candidate. Right now, our United States senators aren't doing it. I'm sorry, they're not meeting the mark. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that they make $200,000 a year, and they're receiving millions more in campaign contributions. Everything's okay for them. Everything's not okay for us. And the minimum wage is what? The cost of health care is what? Right? This is the same thing that I shared when I went to Connorsville. The reason why it continues like this on and on is because we continue to elect people who are far removed from our daily experiences. I think they're the real outsiders. So we have to elect people who believe and know our strengths and our struggles, and they don't just want to talk to us when we're happy or when they find out that we're a member of their political party. Because representation means that you represent people who, they may not be in the same political party as you, and they may not come from the same city as you, or whatever, but you have an obligation to represent them. Look at how the pandemic has changed our society and what toll it took on Americans and working families. Look at what's happening right now with George Floyd and so many others like him. It is obvious that we have people in power right now who do not understand Americans and their basic struggles. I'm calling our United States senators almost every week, and I'm telling them, please do what's right for Hoosiers. It's not about political party, it's about you representing Hoosiers. So I chose the United States Senate because I realize there's very little representation in the upper chamber of Congress. I think politicians get these jobs, and for them, it's retirement. It's a time to retire. But they've forgotten how easy it's supposed to be to acquire these offices. I want you to ask yourself a question right now. Do you know what the requirements are to be a United States Senator? Just think about it for a minute. What are the requirements to be a United States Senator? How many of you actually know? So the requirements are, you need to be 30 years old. You need to be a United States citizen. It doesn't say how, but for 9 years, you need to be a United States citizen. That's 2. And then the final thing is that you are a resident of the state in which you want to represent. That's it. That's all you have to have. So guess what? I'm 37. I was born and raised in Chicago, Illinois, and I've been living in Indiana since 2000. All my education is from here. So guess what? I'm qualified to be your United States Senator, according to our founding fathers. In fact, I have above some of those qualifications. So regardless of how much money I have or I don't have, or the way I look, or any of these other things that become a distraction so often, I am qualified. And so are many of you who are listening to this. So it's not about following history and tradition, because that really has gotten us nowhere. It's about getting behind what you believe in, even if it's different. And I know that I'm different. So once again, I just want to kind of throw this in there. I'm Haneefah Khaaliq. I'm running for United States Senate here in Indiana in 2022. And I'm starting my campaign right now because I know that's what's needed to get me where I'd like to be. We have to get better at being mechanisms of change and being unafraid to get behind what's different, because what's different is sometimes necessary to send a different kind of message to Washington, one that is so desperately needed. And so that's why I'm asking you to start following me and thinking about me right now. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Keep up with me, because I'm saying some things that I think a lot of people need to hear. So I've been told, and I have to share this, I've been told that I'm a blue dot in the Red Sea here in Indiana, and I know that. But I like to think of the sea as maybe more purple. Turning more purple maybe by the day, because I think we need to come together tear down these false barriers and build together on better principles. So, in my experience, it takes very little, a very small level of convincing to get people's attention on what is necessary to rebuild the country and to head in a better direction. So I brought that up because I am a Democrat moderate, okay, and I want everyone to understand what that means. So, although I tend to be progressive on many issues, I can also be quite surprisingly conservative when it comes to others. So, I'm not going to get too much into detail on the stances or the view or my views. My website is coming soon. Right now, if you go to Facebook and you go under notes or the about section, you will kind of get a little brief synopsis of what my stance is on some things, but it's certainly not an exhaustive list. That will be published to the website soon. So once that website is up and going, I will also share that. Okay, so let me transition right now to something else. I want everyone know that I want everyone to know tuning in that I am here to listen to you. So, with that said, my phone number is 317, right here, wait, right here, over here, there we go, 317-999-5592. And I am interested in engaging with people from the public. If you have a question or you want to just talk about something, I welcome you to call or text me. And if I don't answer right away, I will certainly get back to you when I can, okay? So unlike some of the representatives that we've seen, I understand the purpose of having two ears and one mouth. It means you're supposed to listen twice as much as you speak. And if you can't do that, then you don't have any business running for office. Our politicians have enough money to listen to every single individual, and everyone listening in needs to understand that. The problem is that they're not setting up the systems to do it and to actually make it, to actually show that they are listening or to show proof of that. So one of the things that I hope to do as a United States Senator is create an online system where uh, you can see opinions, surveys, polls that have been taken, and then you can compare that to what I have voted for, and even see comments or questions or some sort of platform where you can see the dialogue between myself and constituents. There's nothing set up like that right now. And it's not going to be, because politicians don't want to be held accountable for the dialogue. They don't want it on record. And they also don't want they don't want you to they don't want you to then go back and say, well, you said this, so now why is it different? You know. So my plan is to put together a platform where Hoosiers will be able to see what's going on. Now, I don't know exactly how that's going to happen, but we're going to make it happen, because that's one of my main campaign promises. So the problem is we look at the wrong things when it comes to people and when it's time to vote. You know, we're so concerned with so many things that don't matter. So I have people on my team that are concerned about certain things. My only concern is that I'm elected by the American spirit, the American dream, and the American people. So my thing is, I'm only accepting support and contributions from people like you and me. People who believe in clean energy, animal welfare, livable wages, people who want change right now, who want civil rights right now. And I need support from people who understand dignity, loyalty, and respect. And it's time out for us pretending as though we're not connected to each other as human beings on this earth, right? Because the whole thing that's happening with George Floyd right now, it wouldn't have happened if the police had multicultural education and they felt a part of the communities that they were in. if they took on more community policing versus militarization of the police, which is a dangerous thing. Okay, so we have a responsibility to each other, and we must show that we want legislators who understand that. I'm not going to really comment too much on the president and his administration. I think they have gotten enough attention, and they always do, right? And I'm certainly not here to applaud or endorse, anyone who's running for office. I'm not really here to talk about that, but it's because someday, I know very soon, Hoosiers may place me in a position where, in an unprecedented position, to to supervise these individuals. And that's going to require a great level of wisdom and neutrality on my part. And it's also going to require humility. So it's up to you, Hoosiers, to vote me in, to put me in that role, someone who has a verified history of public service, and most of all, not going to take any bull crap, to be quite just short with you. Someone who will not be persuaded, bribed, easily enticed, or paid off. That's not going to be my way, and you can guarantee that. So once again, I'm Haneefah Khaaliq. I'm running for United States Senate right here in Indiana, and I'm starting my campaign right now, even though it's 2022, because I know that's what it's going to take for me to win. And the name of my committee is Hoosiers for Haneefah. So I'm wrapping up now. So we have United States senators sitting in office right now, one of them who accepts so much money from pharma, it will make you puke. Okay, he couldn't possibly be focused on getting prescription drug prices down. That's just the bottom line. He doesn't think immigrants need a pathway to citizenship. He doesn't think you should directly get any more money from COVID. I think I already mentioned that. And he called the extra $600 in unemployment payments perverse. Just let that sink in for a minute. I don't know what your idea of perverse is. But I don't call trying to give Americans, over 40 million Americans, a little, extra $600 for unemployment. I don't call that perverse. I think that's sad that he thinks that's perverse. We have another United States senator who backs the president every single time he opens his mouth. That's not the job of a senator. You must be willing to judge the president of the United States and hold him or her accountable for their actions. You must be equally willing and unafraid to stand up to them and tell them when they are right and when they are wrong. The same senator also was against the sharing of the CDC guidelines during this pandemic, which was info the American people could have used to make informed decisions about when they were ready to return to normal. Why? Why would you say you want to keep that information from the American people? That's disgusting. That's what I call perverse. So we need United States senators who are more concerned with what's going on with us on a daily basis than what their political party is. And Indiana needs, for the first time, United States senators who are willing to represent all people, even people who disagree with them, or maybe they don't have anything in common with them, because that's what real representation looks like. I shared this when I went to Connorsville also. Representation is like taking a meal order for someone. It is, because you have to first listen to what the person wants. And after you listen, well, even before that, there's some other stuff that happens. You're given a menu, you're given options, you're given time to look at those options, and you may choose something that I may not agree with, But if I say that I'm representing you, then I have to do that. I have to at least try to dialogue with you. And that's not happening right now. That's what real representation looks like. I go in, I get what you want, I bring it back out, I give it to you. So the problem is our politicians aren't doing that. They're doing whatever they, whatever they want to do. So Haneefah, are you saying that, you would go against your own personal convictions to represent me when it comes time to vote or something like that? Absolutely. Absolutely, I will, because you matter. You matter. Whatever you're thinking matters, whatever you say. So, that's the whole idea of my slogan. I am Indiana. You are Indiana. Together, we're Indiana. Because together we are Indiana. It's not just me in the office making all the decisions. I'm dialoguing with my constituents every day, live, maybe, uh, uh, maybe just through myself, a phone call, but it has to be done. So again, I'm Haneefah Khaaliq. I'm running for United States Senate right here in Indiana in 2022, and I'm starting my campaign right now because that's what I need to do to win. And the name of my committee is Hoosiers for Haneefah. I want to shift gears a little bit into talking about why we have protests and why we have wars and things like this. The answer is simple. Never forget this. The leaders aren't listening to the people. This thing that's going on right now with George Floyd, and may he rest in peace and prayers to his family. We've had this happen too many times before. Michael Brown, Sandra Bland, Eric Garner. You have all of these individuals, and you know what the legislators said when all those things happened? Yes, we need to work on that. We need to put something together right now, and let's get it together, and let's give, whatever. There was no talk of giving police multicultural education. There was no talk about uh, giving them some intensive, employing intensive vetting to make sure that these types of officers who, may have these biases are rooted out before they can even get into, you know, before they can even wear that badge. The people have the answer, and the government has failed them, and they are tired of being lied to. The time of politicians not representing their constituents and just going on about their business has come to an end. And that's why I'm depending on you to send a strong, clear message in 2022. We've had enough. We want someone who we know is going to get things done. So as mentioned earlier, I am an outsider. I'm not the usual. I'm not deterred. I don't want anyone who believes in me to ever be deterred, because my unusualness and my incongruence is a strength. Just know that I'm here to do what's right by the people, and that's all that really matters right now. So in closing, and before I open it up for any questions, Greg, Eve, I just want to let you know I've got my phone here. If you want to send a question, or if you have the ability to type the question, I don't know, but I do have my phone here in case aren't you seeing anything, or if you have questions yourself. So in closing, I just want to make sure I share a few things with the listening audience. Once again, I'm Haneefah Khaaliq. I'm running for United States Senate right here in Indiana in 2022, and I'm starting my campaign right now because that's what I need to do in order to win. And the name of my committee is Hoosiers for Haneefah. I hope you will be a Hoosier for Haneefah. And my Act Blue account is up. So please make a contribution to the campaign today. I did mention earlier that my website is in the process of coming together, and My team is excellent. I want to send a shout out to all of them. There's almost 20 of them on the team, and I thank them so much for just, being a part of this. This is a movement that we have to take advantage of. And the third thing, with regard to COVID, because we're still in that time period, if you believe that you've been laid off or fired wrongfully, you need to contact your local EEOC or the Occupational Health and Safety Administration. Okay. These agencies are charged to give you proper information. With regard to housing, I want everyone to know that Governor Holcomb gratefully extended Indiana's moratorium on evictions until, and foreclosures as well, I believe up until July the 1st. So please keep that in mind. I'm actually hoping that there will be maybe some type of statewide solution for tenants struggling to pay rent eventually. So, let's hope for that. I want to also say one other thing. If your landlord is trying to evict you without a court order, I want to make that very clear. Without a court order, they're trying to evict you. You need to call law enforcement to stop them. And then you need to file a free complaint with either your local HUD office or the Indiana Attorney General's office, because they need to get on that. Last thing, please register to vote. Please fill out your census. I cannot stress this enough. I attended a peaceful demonstration yesterday. I was just a tad disappointed because many were not really interested. They were interested about raising their voices in the streets and marching, but they weren't concerned at all about transferring those voices into the voting booth. That's where we need the voices. And you know what? Even if you don't have someone lined up that you prefer, you can vote out the ones that you don't want. So I don't want to hear that registering to vote is not a priority on anyone's list. Everyone needs to register to vote. Please fill out your census. The census is important because you're counted. And if you are a member of the minority population, well, there are people already complaining within the minority population that they're not being counted. Well, you're certainly not going to be counted if you don't fill out the census. So please fill out the census. You're counted. Money is earmarked. Lots of public funds are distributed that way. They're looking at numbers on what the need is and all these things. Please fill out the census. So now I'm going to go ahead. I'd like to take a moment and take some questions. Looks like I'm doing good on time. That's very important to me always. 1 to 2 was my goal, and I think that I'm doing pretty well with that. Something happened with the Instagram. I don't know what's going on with that. Lots of technical issues today. This was our first time doing anything, so I'm not really sure why that happened. But that's okay. We're still on Facebook. We're still on YouTube. We're still on Periscope, which is also Twitter. Okay. Let's take some questions. Okay. So I'm looking over here in the chat here, and I've got a question coming from Eve. And the question is, what do you suggest the law enforcement should do to stop police brutality? How do you intend to help improve in that area? Okay, so first of all, let me go to a document that I have because I have. Hold on, guys. Let me try to see if I can get Instagram back on the line. Give me just a second here. Thank you for your patience. Okay, let's see if Instagram will let me go live again because we lost it there. On. Oh, here we go. Okay, very good. Okay, sorry, Instagram, lost you for a minute. I'm back. Okay, so I want to talk about what is needed for our police in this day and age. As you know, we have the protests are still going on, and I have participated in a peaceful protest and demonstration myself. I'm very proud of that, and I think all the protesters need to be proud because even as we speak, a lot of there's been a lot of change. Um, there's been a lot of change with regard to, I'm sorry, discussions and dialogue with regard to what exactly needs to be done. And let's just hope they move swiftly. Okay, so give me just a second. I'm almost there. Hold on. Okay, so here's a couple things that we need with regard to um, our law enforcement. First of all, I don't think that more police eliminates the issue. I think investing in the law enforcement that we already have, like I mentioned earlier with regard to their training, right? It starts in their training. The issues actually start in the training because police officers, the way they're trained is, I hate to say it like this, but they're they're it's so militarized, and it needs to be more focused on community policing. We need multicultural education training and other crime prevention programs. Um, that's going to be the number one thing. And then the other issue that we're having, we need to establish federal standards and or um, uh, guidelines for the use of force, right? And that we need greater transparency as well when it comes to the use of body cameras, too. There's a lot of issues with police, getting involved in, in issues with civilians, and they don't have their body cameras on, or they don't have them. I believe in body cameras. I believe in greater transparency in that regard, and also some sort of uniform federal standard and guidelines for the use of force and when it can be used. Another thing that I think uh, that I hope to do is provide greater federal oversight capacity for the we've got thousands of law enforcement agencies across the country. So I think what's needed right now is more federal oversight. What that looks like uh, needs we need to study and do a little bit more research. But more importantly, I think we also need to hold prosecutors right to a higher level of scrutiny and or accountability when it comes to how they handle crimes and how charges are brought. Because I know that there's a lot of favoritism when it comes to who gets charged with something on behalf of someone or not, and that needs to end. So that is going to be my answer to that question. Okay, give me just a second here. I'm reading more questions. Okay, Irina Irina Edwards is asking, how can we ensure that violent police are charged and convicted? Okay, so once again, that's going to go back to prosecutors being held to a higher level of scrutiny. Why did it take so long for the gentleman to be arrested? Why did it take so long for these others? Because there's injustice in the justice system, and it needs to be more speedy. Um, so we have to hold the prosecutors accountable, and also internal affairs within the police department uh, as well. Okay, I'm going to go to another question here. Eve is asking, what are your intentions with immigration to stop separation of families? Okay, give me just a second to get to my immigration policy. I hope everybody's doing okay out there. It's a nice day. Give me just a second. Okay, so bear with me. I'm almost there. Okay, so immigration policy, a couple things that I want to talk about with regard to stopping the separation of families. Okay, so we all saw that horrific episode. Who knows? It's probably still going on. Just horrific. Having just seeing these types of things happen to people. So what we need to do is we need to keep families together. Uh, the lawful immigration into America. So we have a significant number of people who, they seek to defy our rules by posing as families or asylum seekers or refugees. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that people are receiving the, the justice. They're not being immediately deported and separated, from their families, you know. Now, I know that some there's a lot of you have some people who arrive at the border and they are pretending to be a family. Some, I'm not saying all of them, but some of them are. So what we need is we need to look at our immigration policy, and we need to make sure that these are in fact families. We need to make sure that we have fairer, greater vetting, type of process where people are these types of things are not happening in our in our system. I hope that answers the question. Um, okay. I do not see any more questions. I don't know, Greg, Eve, did you want me to go into greater depth with regard to my immigration policy, Eve? Okay. Greg, do you have any questions? Does anyone else have any questions? Okay, it looks like I'm still under an hour, so we got about maybe 6 minutes. Okay, Irina Edwards is asking, how should we approach COVID-19? Well, um, first of all, we need to start with expert advice. I can tell you that right now. I don't know where Dr. Burks and Dr. Fauci are. I don't know. The the entire COVID team has been disbanded. I don't know that it was time to do that yet. I can tell you right now, I certainly don't agree with, I don't know, reopening while I understand the reopening had to take place to a certain degree, I think that we're really missing our expert opinions and expert advice. So medical expert advice. So, I'm having this virtual town hall. I am still practicing safety precautions, and I think that everyone else out there needs to be doing so as well. If you have a mask, you need to wear it. If you know, keep social distancing, you just don't know. The cases, the COVID-19 cases are actually doing this. Every day I'm looking at the graphs. They're going up, down, up, way down, up, down. It's a mess still. So my advice is to just, be safe. Eve, I can see you typing, but I cannot hear you. Did you have any more questions, Eve? Okay. Okay, Greg. Okay, we have a question here. Valerie Harris Waddell. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I apologize if I'm not. But the question is, if a relative wants to visit, is it safe if they're coming via airplane? Well, I would check with the relative first and ask them, are you having any symptoms or what have you? And then, for example, I've had my I've had my mom over, and we're still social distancing. We're not running up to each other to give each other hugs, which really hurts because I love my mom. But we're doing the best we can. I think that maybe review the situation of where they're coming from. Are the cases high where they're coming from, or do they have symptoms? Should they be traveling? I don't know. There's some people who are asymptomatic. Keep that in mind. you know um, so I would just say follow the advice of your local officials. Okay, give me just a second. I have some questions coming in here. Looks like we got about 3 minutes. Okay, so I'm hoping once we do start doing on-site town halls that everyone will invite their loved ones and come around next week. Next weekend, I'll be back here at 1 o'clock again. So if you missed me or someone you know missed me this time, they can come back next week. Okay, I'm going to take just one last question. I think I can do it in 2 minutes. Let me see if I can. Okay, the Irina Edwards is asking a question. Are there issues that I am most passionate about? Okay, absolutely. Thank you, Irina, for that question. So, absolutely, I am passionate about civil rights, education, and poverty. Those are my top three things. And with respect to civil rights, I think you know that I'm already the civil rights director. So it's not a job to me, it's a calling. And I love what I do every day. Poverty, I have my own social service, Midwest Center for Social Services, and we assist low income individuals. And with regard to education, I'm still a teacher. I've been a teacher, professor now, but I was a teacher for the past several years. Okay. All right, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap things up here. If I didn't get to your question today, maybe I will save this and look back through it, and I'll be able to answer your question next week. One last time for the road, I'm Haneefah Khaaliq, running for United States Senate right here in Indiana, 2022. And I'm starting my campaign right now because that's what I need in order to win. I do have an group account set up. I hope you'll make a campaign contribution to Hoosiers for Haneefah. I hope you are a Hoosier for Haneefah. And I thank every single one of you for your contribution. I hope you'll take the time to join me next Saturday at 1 o'clock, same time, same place, virtual, until we see things getting better out there. God bless you. God bless America. Thank you.